Hey, welcome to the Summit Host Hangout podcast, where you'll learn how to plan, strategize, and launch your profitable online summit. No influencer status necessary. I'm your host, Krista from Summit in a Box, and we're currently in a series about summit speakers. Today in episode 137, we're breaking down whether you can require a certain email list size from your virtual summit speakers. And I'll warn you, I'm probably going to get a little sassy today, but it should be short and sweet. Instead of giving you an overview of what we'll talk about like I usually do, I'm just going to dive right in today. So in case you haven't experienced this yet for yourself, there's a pretty widespread strategy where summit hosts pitch you to speak at their summit. And then at the bottom of the pitch, they mention that you have to have at least 5,000 people on your email list to participate. And sometimes it'll even go as far as, 5,000 people with a 30% open rate and a whatever percent click rate. Like, they get pretty specific sometimes. And there is a specific virtual summit expert, air quotes, that teaches this. So I know it's not the fault of the hosts. They're being taught that this is the right way to do things. But I do really wish they would think through it a little bit more. But anyways, the pitch goes something like, this is way shortening this up, but I love what you do so much. You're so amazing. I'd love for you to come provide value to my audience. They would love it and they would love you so much. But all of that is only true if you have 5,000 people on your email list. So that's basically what I read those pitches as. They're just, laying it on thick, telling you how awesome you are, but you're only awesome if you have this email list size. And before I had 5,000 people on my email list, those pitches made me feel like absolute garbage. Like, I was so excited at the opportunity, flattered by the things the host was saying at the beginning of the email, and then it all just came crashing down when they placed my entire worth in my email list size. And I still don't respond well now. I have well over 5,000 people on my list now, and I still don't respond well. But it's more like responding with fire rather than tears. I just want to burn the place down. I'm like, come on. So anyways, you guys see where this episode is going. I want to talk about something I find really ironic with this though. What I find ironic is how many summit hosts I see on a daily basis freaking out over things like needing to provide specific data to their summit sponsors, or I've never hosted this summit before. How do I know, what kind of reach to tell them I'll expect, or how many people will be signed up? They have no idea if their events are even going to work. They freak out if a speaker dares to ask how many signups they expect for the event. And they're freaking out over that while also requiring that speakers have a certain list size. Like, what? If you don't know if your event's going to be successful, if you can't guarantee a certain, level of people registered who will be interested in all these things from these speakers, you really have no right to even be demanding a certain email list size. But that is not the most important angle, just something that slightly entertains me a little bit. There's a more important angle to talk about here. One of my biggest values in business is really just around the way that I treat people. And I'm guessing a lot of you listening to this podcast resonate with that, because otherwise I would have chased you away with all of my empathy and caring a long time ago. Pitching someone for your summit, but only wanting them for their email list size, is the absolute opposite of valuing a human. You are placing 100% of their value on their email list. And that is just gross. That's just terrible. That's not the way to treat people. With that being said, please only pitch people that you truly value for who they are as a person and a business owner, as well as the kind of value they bring to your summit. Their email list size literally doesn't matter. These are people you are pitching, not email lists. And you could actually end up with a summit full of a ton of speakers with 5,000 people on their email lists who aren't willing to promote and provide super crappy presentations. And how far would that get you? Not far. So let's talk about, I'm going to put my rant aside. Let's talk about what to do instead. Because like I said, I know that if you're someone listening and you thought this was the right way to do things, I know it was because you were taught that way, not because you're like, how can I be terrible today, So I want to help. Here's what you can do instead. And what you can do instead is literally don't pay attention to audience size. I have never done this. I have never chosen my summit speakers based on how big I think their audience is. And my most recent summit brought in $92,000 on its own without selling anything afterwards. That was just the All Access Pass. Instead of worrying about audience size, pay attention to who has the audience your summit has. can connect with that audience and can speak on a topic that your summit audience needs to hear about. Everything after that is going to even out. If you have people who can provide value, connect, give awesome presentations, nothing else matters. And a lot of the times, speakers with the big email lists aren't willing to promote anyways. The people who go hardest are the ones that are still dedicated to connecting with new audience members, getting themselves out there, making new connections with summit hosts. And of course, that's not in all cases, but do you ever see any big name influencers promoting summits they're on? Like, I literally don't remember the last time I saw a big influencer promoting a summit, because they don't do it. The bigger someone gets, the less likely they are to promote something like this. So really, it's more beneficial to focus on people with a smaller audience or, a more medium-sized audience. But like I said, don't even pay attention to audience size. Pay attention to the pieces that matter. So overall, please stop requiring a certain email list size and value people for who they are. If you really need to, like for sponsorship purposes or whatever, you can ask for how big someone's list is, like as part of their intake process after they're signed on, but only if you're using it to judge the reach of your summit. And you're making that clear to them, like, hey, the only reason I'm asking you this is so I can judge the reach, and ask them to give a range of where their email list size is. But no other reason is okay for asking, and I would not make that a required question either. As for action steps, if you get a pitch from someone requiring a certain list size, send them on over to this episode and, we'll see if they come back with a little bit different tune. But thank you so much for tuning in and, hanging out with me through this ranty episode. For show notes and resources, head to summithosthangout.com/137. In the next episode, we'll be doing a rapid fire Q&A with questions all related to virtual summit speakers, so be sure to tune in for that. Now go out and take action to plan, strategize, and launch your profitable online summit.